Good morning. We're starting out on the Natchez Trace today. This is the first stop where there's a sign of the old trace. We can see the pathway worn down through the land. All right, this is the first major stop along the way. This is the Emerald Indian Mound, built 1300 and was built to support temples and things, not for burials. This is the sunken trace. So the story is the travelers through here eroded the soil from so many people traveling. I think they were herding cows and doing all kinds of things. I'll have to do a little research. People today can't imagine walking 500 miles. Well, this is an interesting view that there's two paths, one off to the right and one off to the left. This is the Ross Reservoir overlook on the Natchez Trace Parkway, headed north. 50 square mile reservoir. Pretty amazing. If you were into fishing or boating, this would certainly be a good place to come. This is a Tupelo bald cypress swamp. There's a trail out here, it goes about a half mile. We'll walk down there a little ways and take a look at it. Nice little walkway here. Pretty interesting little stop here on the Natchez Trace. I'm about 20 miles north of Jackson. I've got about 50 miles to go before I get to the campground that I'm planning to stay at tonight. So it's been a fun day. Well, good morning. This is day 2 of the Natchez Trace. I drove 200 miles yesterday. I spent the night last night in Jeff Busby campground. And if there are any observations I have to make about the Natchez Trace, it's just like the Blue Ridge Parkway, only without the mountains. So let's go. Okay, I said there were no mountains. There's some little hills. This is the Jeff Busby campground Little Mountain Overlook. And I'll turn around here so you can see what it looks like. And I'll get out of the picture here. We'll walk across to the other side here and take a look in the other direction. But this is I think a National Park Service campground, and it was free to stay here last night. They've got about 22 campsites, but no hookups, no water, no sewer, no electric. They do have bathrooms and lots of picnic tables and trash collection and things like that. We do have a view off into the distance there. I don't see any mountains. Yeah, you got to give it to North Carolina and the Blue Ridge Parkway for the mountain views. The Natchez Trace is manicured just like the Blue Ridge Parkway. Lots of green grass. Everything is properly mowed, and the landscape is taken care of. The signage is good. I've only seen one sign that was damaged. Haven't seen any graffiti or anything to destroy the place. So we're going to get going today. I've got 10 stops flagged. So anything that is marked as a nature stop, a nature trail, a hike, I just passed up on that. But anything that appeared to have a view, I tried to stop and get a picture of it. So we'll see how we do today. The question I have is why they call it a trace. So this is not as spectacular view of the old trace as maybe the sunken trace or something like that, but it's obviously a well-worn, cleared path through the woods. There'll be a few more of these, but I'll stop and check them out. Here's another portion of the old trace. We have some more Indian mounds here. These are smaller. We have a nice little view here. It says this was under the ocean years ago. Deposited shells and marine organisms and left rich soil. Okay, we have another path out here to the old trace. Let's go check it out. Possibly right here is a little indentation in the ground here. So that must be it. Yeah, that looks like it. And seems to continue on across the road there. 13 unknown Confederate soldiers here. People are showing respect by leaving tokens and the flags and things. This is 20 Mile Bottom Overlook. I guess you can see for 20 miles, but I still don't see any mountains like the North Carolina Blue Ridge Parkway. These are the far Indian mounds. This is the Tennessee-Tom Bigby Waterway. We've got some information plaques here. Well, I could imagine somebody might want to bed down in here. And if they needed some water, they might want to crawl down in here and try to get some. Doesn't look like any place I'd want to go. Ooh, that looks nasty. There's been plenty of brave souls made their way down here to look at this. You might be able to fan back all the scum on the surface and get some water, or set a bucket under a drip somewhere and collect some over time that's clean. But if you're thirsty, you're thirsty. This is the site of a ferry that was operated in the early 1800s. And I'm not too sure what body of water this is, but that's the bridge right there that carries the trace across the lake. Tennessee River. This is the Tennessee River. There we go. Have another 50 miles or so to do before I get to my camp for the night, and then tomorrow we're rolling on into Nashville. If you can read this sign, I find it pretty funny. Makes it sound like this was not the place for the faint of heart. It was tough travel, tough going. There's pathways going off in 3 different directions here, so I don't know which way I'm supposed to go. Maybe that's one trace of 3. And this may be 2 traces of 3. We'll walk out this way and see if we can find the 3rd one. Or it may have been right there by the parking lot. And the 3rd one appears to be right here at the parking lot. This is the Napier mine. It's an open pit mine. They mined the ore for nearby iron making operations. So a big hole in the ground. That's what we got. This is a pretty area, but I'm a mile from my campground, so I'm ready to get there and call it a day. This is only the second sign I have seen that was either rotted, destroyed, or in need of repair. So all in all, the trace has been very well maintained, and the exhibit's very well maintained. So let's call it a day and get to camp. Good morning. This is day 3 on the Natchez Trace. It's mid-February. The daffodils are coming up. It's going to be a pretty day today, I think. We're going to close out today's trip in Nashville, and that will close out the full trip up the Natchez Trace from Natchez, Mississippi through Alabama into Nashville. So let's go. This is the burial site of Meriwether Lewis. The monument. We'll walk down this section of the trace a little ways. I don't feel like walking and slipping and sliding on an unimproved trail to get down to the bottom there to see the waterfall, which I can see fine from right here. There is a tree in the way. This is the Swan Valley overlook at the 392.5 mile marker. I think they need to trim a few more trees down so you could actually see. Once the trees grow out in the summer, there won't be much of an overlook here. We're nearing the end of the Natchez Trace, but you have to admit that the fact that they've kept this much of the trace marked and open and clear of downed trees and any saplings or anything that's sprouted up over the past, what, 150 years? I'll have to do the math on this and figure out how long it's been since it came into disuse. But I'm just impressed overall with the Natchez Trace from Natchez to Nashville, and how many stops there are along the way where you can see and walk the old trace. So I hope you enjoy this video. I've enjoyed making it. This is Baker Bluff Overlook along the Natchez Trace. We're at about the 405 mile marker. This is the Water Valley Overlook. We've got a power tower right there in the middle of it. Can't see too much on this side for trees, but we'll walk out here to the very tip, see if we get a better view. Well, that's a wrap, folks. This is the northern terminus of the Natchez Trace in Nashville. That's all there is here. There's no sign that says Natchez Trace, welcome to the Trace, beginning of the Trace, end of the Trace, nothing. Oh boy, well, it's been fun. That's all for this trip.